నీరు నిమ్మల కింద గన్నెర్ల కింద వంగి పూలే రంగ కొంగందుకునే వంగి పూలే రంగ.
Good afternoon all. Welcome to the Kavyadhara at the Hyderabad Literary Festival, a complete DigiFest at HLF 2021. You're aware that Kavyadhara was introduced to Hyderabad Literary Festival a couple of years ago. This is a stream dedicated entirely to poetry. The power of the poet, yet again, as we know, and we've recently witnessed when the swearing in of the new president happened, the young Black American poet spoke. Amanda Gorman, as you know, spoke and urged us all through her words to see the light and to be the light. And hence, HLF has always felt that such a dedicated stream to poets must be kept, and we have in this virtual festival as well 4 streams dedicated to Kavyadhara. This particular set of collection of poets and poetry has no particular theme. These are poets, say Anju Makhija, who reads from her lockdown poetry, taking amongst others, talking about urban migrant poverty. Or Hoshang reads his English as well as the Hindi translation of Roshni, the light. Or Sri Lakshmi celebrates life with the reading of Batakamma, or talk about the compassion of cancer. Jamila Nishat, on the other hand, has intense concern about the lives of women, the minorities, the impact of lives on women during the lockdown. Or you have Kartika Nair, who has a searing commentary on the gender power play, deep-seated misogyny, which she brings out in the recitation of her book, the Mahabharata. Finally, we have Madhuk Mohta in Hindi, who reads Samay and Roshni. Again, light seems to be the subject. So we have renderings in English, in Hindi, Hindustani, Urdu, and Telugu. Before I do this, I would like to dedicate this session to a citizen we have lost. And unfortunately, Hyderabad in the last few days has lost a few stalwarts that we are very sad to let go. I talk about the poet, writer, historian, bureaucrat, Narendra Luthar. And I would like to dedicate this session to him and read a poem that he has written and published before. As you all know, that he was a bureaucrat in the then Hyderabad, the Andhra Pradesh cadre. And I mean, he was just, somebody who unearthed historical facts about Hyderabad, or was the president of the Society to Save the Rocks, who is about to celebrate their 26th anniversary. He was somebody very passionate about the city, a citizen here, and a great humorist. This particular also has the couched humor in it, and I read from one of his poems, The Wedding Picture by Narendra Luthar. The wedding picture on the wall, a couple, young and handsome, looking dotingly at each other, or smiling deeply into the camera lens, or looking away together at some distant object dreamily. Love that is undying and intense, glowing like embers. The future holding God knows what treasures, a gift box not yet unwrapped. The couple is sitting in the sitting room, mellowed by years of conjugality, looking in different directions, vainly searching in different memory lanes, the gift box unwrapped and emptied. Trials and triumphs and frustrations of a lifetime furrowed on the flaccid faces, love, those embers for a year, ashes for 30. The wedding picture on the wall smiles down upon them from another world that was. Narendra Luthar from Hyderabad, and we're sad to let you go. I move on to the poets of today. Happy to have with us, and Anju, please feel free to look into our eyes, please, on the Zoom. We'd be happy to see you. Thank you. Anju is a poet, playwright, and translator based in Bombay. She has written 3 poetry collections, co-translated Seeking the Beloved in 2005, The Mystical Verse of Shah Abdul Latif, co-edited 3 anthologies related to partition, women, and young readers. Her plays have been staged in India and abroad. And amongst the many awards, there is Sahitya Akademi English Translation Prize of 2011. She has been on the English Advisory Board of the Sahitya Academy in New Delhi for 5 years. Her book of collected plays, Mumbai Traps, is about to be published shortly. Thank you, Anju, for being here. I request our tech team, Jyoti, please to play Anju's recordings. While they're searching for this, may I just say that we are playing recordings since there are poets from different time zones, and hence we're happy to play this hybrid variety of live and recordings. Thank you very much. Thank you, Anju, for participating.
Hello. Thanks to Amita and her team for inviting me here. Today, they are in a way all related to the pandemic and our recent work. I'll start with the COVID tale. It's a kind of a tale we'll be telling our children or grandchildren a few years from now. A COVID tale. Once in time of the deadly, humans disappeared from Mumbai. Animals appeared as if the puffed up peacock danced, the la-di-la hornbill claimed his kingdom, flamingos spread like cherry blossoms, reminding me of those days when Mumbai was Bombay and we played on the streets while the present stifles the past delights. Now past is becoming present, and I pray for it to become the future. Much has been written about the migrants, but the people who really suffered were the migrant children. And in fact, they have been suffering, I guess, in Bombay for years, and all over India perhaps. I'll read this poem called Zari Saris. In this poem, I'm taking the voice of a young girl. And so you have to just... Zari Saris. My body is covered with sweat and shine and sweat. I live in Dharavi. Wake up at 6 a.m. My fingers move quickly, stitching gold wires on glittering saris for Bollywood. My body is covered with sweat and shine and sweat. I bathe once a week. Fleas settle in between my itchy fingers. I chew zarda daily. I live in a chawl like a frightened deer. My body is covered with sweat and shine and sweat. I'm the smartest from a group. My boss is a crook. He traps tribal children and brings them to the city. Someone stop him, please. And the last piece that I'll read is from a musical. It's a play. It's a musical called Off the Hook. It's going to be part of my collection, all my plays, and should be out shortly. Since it's a musical, I'll try and bring out the flavor of the music, I guess, if I can. And it's about a fish called Tushi, who is granted a favor to be a man. But there is the chorus, a chorus which always warns him, just like we have been warned in recent times. It warns him of things to come. So here's the chorus. Dear immigrant, return to the sea. A Greek man has brains, grasps subtle refrains, masters sociology, but fails to understand his own psychology. Collectively, the species is great, individually farcical fakes. We were the first creatures to develop a backbone. So what? If men have a telephone, drop that false charm, or you'll come to harm. Swim among pink corals, abandoned tubs floral. Your dinosaur trunks are best packed away in bunks. Why have you sunk so low? Why have you sunk so low, bound yourself from head to toe? Dear immigrant, return to the sea. And the man, Tushi, his name is Tushi, says, stop calling me an immigrant. I'm on a fast track. These are the facts. I sleep on Dunlop. In sheer luxury I drown. My boon will soon become the scent of the season. Thank you so much. Hello. Thanks to Amita.
Hi, Amita. All well at our end. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Anju.
Thank you.
That was wonderful. I will move on to now Hoshang Merchant, who is India's preeminent voice of gay liberation. Since 1979, he has published 17 books of poetry. After a master's from Occidental College, Los Angeles, he specialized in the Renaissance and Modernism at Purdue University, Indiana, and attended the Princetown Fine Arts Work Center at Massachusetts. He has lived and taught in Heidelberg, Iran, and Jerusalem, where he was exposed to various radical students' movements of the left. He has studied Buddhism at the Tibetan Library Dharamshala, India, as well as Islam in Iran and Palestine. He superannuated from the University of Hyderabad, India, after 26 years of teaching. May I request you to play Roshni by Hoshang Merchant? Thank you.
I think of light in my darkened room this morning at 7. That house of light, light flooded it from the valley. We could barely see. The house floated on the sing this way and that way at sea. रोशनी अंधेरे कमरे में सुबह 7 बजे वो रोशन घर दरिए से नूर भरपूर चकाचौंध कर दे। हर दोपहर के ताप पर बहे हम भूले भटके किश्ती पर हम राह ढूंढते। उसकी 2 आंखों ने मुझे मार डाला, उनकी रोशनी कौन सह सकेगा। तुमसे तो क्या बनेगी? होशंग मर्चेंट। होशंग मर्चेंट की दाढ़ी निकाल दो तो क्या बनेगी? सैरा बानो।
That's Hoshang Merchant for you. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Hoshang. We move on to Inamapudi Sri Lakshmi, who is a poet from Telangana. Her poems depict human suffering and quest in general and the agony of women in particular. Her association with All India Radio as an announcer for the last 25 years has made her think about the unexplored zones of human journey, and she tries to unravel the mystery through her poetry. She has published 4 books of poetry, edited 9 other important literary publications besides translations and documentaries. We'll have 2 of her recordings. Jyoti, request you to play them both.
నీళ్ళ మీద సింగిడి అయినంపూడి శ్రీలక్ష్మి నా పేరు. నువ్వు అనుకుంటావు బతుకమ్మ పూల పండుగ ఆడబిడ్డల పండుగ అని. అంతేనా? ఓ వీరుడా, ఒక్కసారి ఇటు మర్రి చూడు. బతుకమ్మ అంటే బతుకు కొనసాగింపు కోసం ఉనికిని ఊపిరిని అందించే పండుగ. బతుకమ్మ ఓ పోరాట యోధ. మట్టి సంస్కృతి మూలలోంచి యుద్ధ వ్యూహాన్ని ఎలా చెక్కాలో చెబుతుంది. బతుకమ్మ ఓ వైద్యురాలు. పూల పుప్పొడులతో చెరువును శుద్ధి చేసి కొత్త నీటిని వస్త్ర కాగితం పడుతుంది. అడవి పూలనే దేవత లెక్క కొలిచి అందరినీ ఒక్క దగ్గర చేరుస్తుంది. బతుకమ్మ ఓ చిత్రకారిణి. సిగ్గు పేర్చినప్పటి నుంచి నీళ్లలో నిమజ్జనం చేసే వరకు అందరి బతుకు చిత్రాలను ఉడిసిపడుతుంది. బతుకమ్మ ఓ నృత్య గురువు. విభిన్న భంగిమలను రూపొందించి పాదానికి హస్తానికి లయను నేర్పిస్తుంది. బతుకమ్మ ఓ సంగీత స్రష్ట. కొత్త రాగాలను కనిపెట్టి శృతిరాని వారితో సైతం స్వరాలను పలికిస్తుంది. బతుకమ్మ ఓ కవి. అశువుగా పదాలను అల్లి సరికొత్త జానపదాలను కలనేస్తుంది. బతుకమ్మ వేలాది వర్ణాల నవ ఉషస్సు. నీళ్ల మీద పురిప్పిన ఇంద్రధనస్సు. బతుకమ్మ వేలాది వర్ణాల నవ ఉషస్సు. నీళ్ల నా చిన్న రెండు జడుల అమ్మాయిని నేను. అమ్మతో గొడవపడి చేసి అరిచి రెండు జడలు వేయించుకున్నాను. రిబ్బన్ నా వెంట్రుకల పాయల్ని ఒక్కటిగా అల్లేది. స్టెప్పులుగా కలిసిపోయి నా కుర్లకి కొనసాగింపు అల్లేది. అన్నెప్పుడు అమ్మెప్పుడు పచ్చ రిబ్బన్లే అల్లేది. నాకేమో లేతగా కనిపించే గులాబీ రిబ్బన్ బాగా నచ్చేది. అప్పుడు అంతగా ఆశపడినందుకేమో ఇప్పుడు పింక్ రిబ్బన్ నా కొత్త సహచరి అయ్యింది. పింక్ రిబ్బన్ నా బ్రతుకు పతాక అయ్యింది. కొత్త జన్మకు జీవశ్వాస అయ్యింది. గుండెలకు రక్షణ లేకపోవడం అంటే కొత్త ధైర్యం రావడం అనే అర్థం అయ్యింది. చంద్రులను కోల్పోవడం అంటే నిషేధ చీకటి కాదని కొత్త సూర్యోదయం అని తెలిసొచ్చింది. అందుకే పింక్ రిబ్బన్తో నాలాంటి కోట్లాది గుండెల్లో జీవనేచ్ఛను నింపడానికి నేను కొత్త బతుకును జీవించడానికి నేను ఆశాగీతం పాడుతాను. ఇంతకాలం ఆడలను వేరొకరి గుండెలపైన కుంపటి అన్నారు. ఆడపిల్లల గుండెల్లోనే కుంపట్లు ఉన్నాయని ప్రకటించాలి. ఆ కుంపట్లను చల్లార్చడానికి ఆత్మస్థైర్యపు నీటి రిజర్వాయర్లను కూడా నిర్మించాలి. నా ప్రియ ఆప్త గాయాలు బాధలు దుఃఖాలు ఖండనలు దండనలు మనకి కొత్త కాదు కదా. అనాదిగా ప్రతి గాయం ప్రతి విషాదంలో ఇంకొంత విశ్వాసాన్ని పాల్గొంది కదా. ప్రతి భూకంపం మనలో మళ్ళీ గూడు నిర్మించుకునే స్థైర్యాన్ని నింపింది కదా. ఇది అంతే సహచరి. ఆకులు
Apologies, there seems to be a little glitch here. Give us a minute to get back.
Restarting the video from the second minute, Amit.
All right. Thank you, Jyoti.
కరెక్ట్ కావడం అంటే సిస్టమ్ కొలాప్స్ అవ్వడం కాదు కదా, నుంచి తీసేయడమే కానీ నువ్వు ఉద్యోగంలోంచి రిటైర్మెంట్ కాదు కదా. ట్రోజన్ హార్స్ రావడం అంటే గ్రీక్ నాగరికత అర్థం కాదు కదా. అమావాస్య ఆగమనం అంటే పుణ్యమి చరమాంకం కాదు కదా. భక్తో జాలిపోవడం అంటే అక్షయ పాత్ర లాంటి మనసు మూడు వారటం కాదు కదా. అందుకే ఈ గుండె కొతని గుండెల్లో కొత్త ఖాతగా మలుచుకుంటాం. ఈ గుండె కొతని గుండెల్లో కొత్త ఖాతగా మలుచుకుంటాం. ప్రసవం అంటేనే కొత్త జన్మ. కనీసం 2 సార్లైనా పునర్జన్మించిన వాళ్ళం. ఇప్పుడు మన కోసం మరోసారి సరికొత్తగా ఈ రాచపుండుని దేహ సంస్కృతిలోని కొత్త పండుగగా ఆహ్వానిద్దాం. పురోజ రాహిత్య దశని ఇన్నాళ్ళు స్త్రీత్వం పేరిట చేసిన సంకెళ్ళ నుండి విముక్తిగా భావిద్దాం. జీవన పుస్తకంలో కొత్త పాఠంలా చదువుకుందాం. ఈ స్తనాతీత దశని మహిళా ప్రస్థానంలో నవ యుగోదయం అని చాటి చూద్దాం. ఈదురుగాలి వీచిందని గడ్డి పువ్వు పూయకుండా ఆగదు. తుఫాను వచ్చిందని పంటలు మొలకెత్తకుండా ఉండవు. కొమ్మలు విరిగిపోయాయని మళ్ళీ సూర్యోదయం వెలుగులు కిందకుండా ఉండదు. నా ప్రియ సహోదరి రా, ఇప్పటి నుంచి షేగా కాకుండా
These are some of the issues of technical world that we're living in. We probably had another 30-40 seconds left. Is that correct?
Yes, Amita. Would you like me to replay it or should we move on to the next video?
We can move on to the next video. Thank you. I'd like to just let the viewers know that we are really stretching our technology the best we can. I was given to understand that there is various platforms before it reaches the audience, and hence there is always some amount of lag and issues of compatibility. And hence such issues will come up. As I said, our very first Digi festival, and hence this can happen, and we apologize for that. Thank you nonetheless, Sri Lakshmi Garu, for your renderings. I move on to Jamila Nishat, who is a poet and a rights activist. She established Shaheen Women's Resource and Welfare Association in 2002 to rescue young girls and women from abusive environments and patriarchal strongholds. As a poet, she favors the marginalized Urdu dialect, Dakhani, and has edited Inkishaf, an anthology of Deccan women writers. Her work has been widely translated and featured in several anthologies, including Women Writings in India in 1991, the In Their Own Voice. She received several awards, including the Devi Award of the New Indian Express and the prestigious Ladli Award 2012 for her radio play Javani Diwani. Request you, Jyoti, to please play Jamila ji's recordings.
कैसी काली वबा है फैली, इंसानों को डसती गई। कैसी काली वबा है फैली, इंसानों को डसती गई। फलक का चेहरा खाक हुआ, ज़मीं की छाती सूख गई। फलक का चेहरा खाक हुआ, ज़मीं की छाती सूख गई। जाने कितने लाखों लोग अब बोरिया बिस्तर बांध के निकले अपने अपने घर जाने। जाने कितने लाखों लोग बोरिया बिस्तर बांध के निकले अपने अपने घर जाने। मैं भागी अपने घर से, मैं भागी अपने घर से, जाऊं तो कहाँ मैं जाऊंगी। 1 महीना बीत गया घर से निकले, फटी थी चप्पल पाँव थे घर जाना था। फटी थी चप्पल पाँव थे भारी, मुझको पिया घर जाना था। लोग तो मीलों मील चले, लोग तो मीलों मील चले, जीवन का सफर ये कैसा है। चलना चलना मुदाम चलना, चलना चलना मुदाम चलना, लंबी लंबी सड़कों पर लोग चले थे घर जाने। मैं निकली अपने घर से, लहर लहर लहराती जवानी, भूखी प्यासी सुंध पड़ी। लहर लहर लहराती जवानी, भूखी प्यासी सुंध पड़ी। मैं थी 19 साला लड़की, जाऊं तो कहाँ मैं जाऊंगी। 8 माह से मैं थी परेशान, चलना चलना मुदाम चलना। मुझसे चला नहीं जाता था, मंजिल का मुझे तो पता नहीं था, फिर भी मुझको चलना है। मंजिल का मुझे तो पता नहीं है, फिर भी मुझको चलना है।
Resharing, Amita.
Okay, sure. Thank you. I'm given to understand that the streaming and the overheated devices tend to do this. We will continue. Apologies for
सवेरे
this.
मेरी लाइट, मेरी लाश पड़ी मिली। सुबह सवेरे मेरी लाश पड़ी मिली, सबने देखा लम्स की चादर फटी पड़ी थी। नन्ना मुन्ना रोने लगा था, उठता सूरज पूछ रहा था, तुमको कहाँ अब जाना है, तुमको कहाँ अब जाना है। चेहरे पे लिखा है, मुहाजिर तो नहीं मैं हूँ मैं, मेरे चेहरे पे लिखा है मुहाजिर। आईना जमाने का, मैं आईना जमाने का, वहां गंगा में बन जाऊं, यहाँ कावेरी बन जाऊं। दलित हूं मैं, बहुजन हूं, मगर ये हुक्मरान देखो, मगर ये हुक्मरान देखो, कभी कहते मैं बागी हूं, कभी मैं देशद्रोही हूं। मेरी धरती धड़कती है, मेरी धरती धड़कती है और कहती है, दलित हूं मैं, बहुजन हूं। वो जालिम है, वो जालिम है, किसी के हाथ में बंदूक उठाया है। बगावत कौन करता है, पलटकर क्यों झपटता है। जरा सोचो, जरा सोचो, मसावी सब हैं कहते हैं, मगर मैं उनमें नहीं शामिल। मसावी सब हैं कहते हैं, मगर मैं उनमें नहीं शामिल। की धरती में रवा में देश के रेड़े में, दलित हूं मैं, बहुजन हूं। मेरे नारे फिर गूंजेंगे, मेरे नारे फिर गूंजेंगे, गांव में और शहरों में। नहीं अब सह नहीं सके, चलो हिटलर से ये कह दें। नज्म का उन्वान है अपना वतन। ये अपना वतन है, अपना वतन। ये कैसा वतन है अपना वतन? हम पैदा हुए, जवान हुए, फिर भी न रहा ये अपना वतन। पिछड़ी कौम के लोग हैं हम, है अपना
Another break. I'm very sorry. I do apologize for this. I know disruption in readings is not the done thing. There seems to be a real problem. We really do apologize.
हमको जब घर ही नहीं है रहने को, 10 कहाँ से लाए हम। है अपनी मिट्टी हमको, जब घर ही नहीं है रहने को, दस्तावेज कहाँ से लाए हम। ये खून पसीना अपना धन, ये खून पसीना अपना धन, ये कैसा वतन है अपना वतन। वो कहते हैं गद्दार है हम कहते हैं दिलदार है हम। वो कहते हैं गद्दार है हम कहते हैं दिलदार है हम। बसी है दिल में हुब्बुल वतनी, चेहरे पे क्या दिखलाए हम। बसी है दिल में हुब्बुल वतनी, चेहरे पे क्या दिखलाए हम समझे जिसे थे अपना वतन। ये कैसा वतन है अपना वतन। फिरकों में ना बांटो हमको, ना नफरत की बू फैलाओ। वो कैसे हुक्मरां कहलाए, बर्बाद किया जो अपना चमन। हाल ही में जो हैदराबाद में सैलाब आया था, उस पे नज़्म है। ज़मीं तो खफा थी, खफा ही रही, फलक भी गरज कर बरसने लगा। एक तूफान सा फैला स्याह रात का, और लोगों को सारे वो डसने लगा। सड़क नालों में घर, कमरे में सामा और मेरा पलंग, सब तैरते थे मैं झूलती थी। छत से उस घर के बहे आबशार, दालान में देखो चश्मा है फूटा। दालान में देखो चश्मा है फूटा, बाजार में घूमे बड़ी एक मगरमच्छ। डूबे जवानी ये कैसा है पानी, डूबे सकती मचलती तड़पती थिरकती कसकती जवां जिंदगानी। सिसकती मचलती तड़पती थिरकती सिसकती जवां जिंदगानी। रोशनी धुआं रोशनी, उछलते हैं पत्थर उमटता है पानी। दीवारों दर भी गिरने लगे हैं, रसोई में बर्तन बहने लगे हैं। पशेमा परेशान भटकने लगे। किनारा कहाँ है, कहाँ है, कहाँ है किनारा कहाँ है। ये ईसा नदी है वो मूसा नदी, नदी में है सड़कें और साहिल पे घर। असा है यहाँ अब, असा डूबा शहर है सबकी, डुबोया शहर को सबकी हवस ने। डुबोया शहर को सबकी हवस ने। कहाँ है अब इंसान कहाँ है।
Hi Amita, Jamila ji's poem is done. Please advise.
Right. I suggest that if you can upload these videos for viewers to see later on, that would be nice, because I think the viewing has not been very smooth. Thank you nonetheless to the tech team. I know it's not easy, but we request viewers to please go into our archive and then check out these videos. We will move on. Are we able to do this, Jyoti? Are we able to move on to the next two poets?
Yes, yes, Amita.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Jamila ji. Apologies again to the poets that we have not been able to give you the best of technicals in this session. Something has needs to be worked on. I move on to Kartika Nair, who is a poet, fabulist, and librettist. She's the author of books including the award-winning Until the Lions, Echoes from the Mahabharata, and The Honey Hunter, illustrated by Joël Jolivet. The performances she has scripted and co-scripted have been staged at venues across the world, such as Palais de Pape in Avignon, Esplanade in Singapore, Lincoln Center in USA. Also a dance enabler, her closest and longest association has been with the Sibdi Larbi Cherokawi and Damien Jallet as executive producer of works like Three Spells, Babel, Puzzle, and Les Méduses. And she is the co-founder of Cherokawi's Antwerp-based company, Eastman. Request you to play Kartika Nair's piece, please.
Thank you, Dr. Vijay Kumar and Hyderabad Literature Festival for inviting me to this edition. I'm going to read a single poem. It is a poem from my book, Until the Lions, Echoes from the Mahabharata. This poem is called Bedtime Stories for a Dasi's Son, and it is in the voice of Savari, the handmaid to Gandhari, who is forced to sleep with Dhritarashtra, the blind king. The second that I'm going to read. Bedtime Story for a Dasi's Son. When the king decides to take you, the eyes arrive first. Not his own, for he is blind. No, an unkindness of eyes, male and female and other, raptors that circle you, watching, weighing, measuring, probing and prying. Different, yet so similar they could all be the same. Eyes that seem to have no tongues, no torsos either, though you will feel their beaks inside your head for the rest of your days, pecking your words, gnawing on your thoughts, spitting out syllables, stretching vowels, screeching and cooing in turn, praising and threatening. It is an honor, they crow, that you must strive to deserve. We are so grateful to be spared. A great honor you must not avoid. You know this already. In all the years you have tried to remain unseen, tried to stay unbodied even when present. For how could you forget your name? The maid who fled, the maid who had reached up her back. To her, oh, I used to be the back. For you, your great aunt, chosen by another monarch, back. Your great aunt, who had to vanish, but returned when they fed her husband and her firstborn to a bonfire, feet first. An honor you cannot refuse. call, as though you didn't know that. When the king decides to take you, the land is his, the rivers are his, the sky too, the birds dwelling there bemoan. When the king decides to take you, there is nowhere to hide, with earth and heaven and hell his turf. When the king decides to take you, no one comes to the rescue, the gods are his, myth and legend too, his own. Decides to take you, the contours of your life dissolve. You move within a cage of eyes, the unkindness of eyes that define to daybreak, from plunder to cleansing to respect, to plunder again. Your deflowering too is a public act. The bedchamber is not naked, nor is the king, only you are. Your deflowering, accompanied by priestly chanting and conch shells, unfolds in 3 long acts of lunge, grind, rip, of a Himalayan thing, block night, lying open, arms and thighs, no flesh or thought. All metal and sweat and rush, the grind of chest against belly, the grind.
Should we turn off the video? Will that work better? Ratmesh, if you can play without the video. Maybe all systems have crashed, who knows? This is very difficult, we understand. I know the tech team who are doing marvelous job are trying to resolve this, but it looks like this is a difficult issue. We've had this trouble in this session. All our other sessions seem to have been going off well. Give us a minute and I will in the meantime introduce to you the next poet. And as soon as the tech team is back and reconnected, we will try to replay again and give it a try. Humanity, we will try to overcome the technical glitches. The next poet and the last poet of this session will be Madhup Mohta. Dr. Madhup Mohta graduated in medicine from All India Institute of Medical Sciences, and after a brief stint in the paramilitary forces, he joined the Indian Foreign Service in 1985. He has served in Indian diplomatic missions in Hong Kong, Nepal, Thailand, and United Kingdom. He has also served as the director of the Indian Council for Cultural Relations in New Delhi and director of the Foreign Service Institute. He knows Hindi, English, Urdu, Sanskrit, Punjabi, and the list goes on. He's truly a multilingual poet. He, however, writes largely in Hindi and English and has edited several publications. His collection of Hindi poetry Samay, Sapna aur Tum has been awarded the Maithili Sharan Gupt Puruskar. We will now give a few more minutes before the technical team reassembles, reconnects, and we hope to be able to play the last recordings. We do apologize for this glitch. Over to the technical team. I think they are ready.
Hi, Prathamesh, please make me co-host.
सच तो है यकीन नहीं, कितने मासूम अंधेरों में तलाशा था तुझे, कितने संगीन उजालों में तुझे पाया है, कितना चाहा था कोई रिश्ता निभाऊं तुझसे, और जाना कि तेरा अक्स भी पराया है। स्याह रातों के कमजोर तल्ख लम्हों में बारहा तेरी याद आई है। ये तेरे ओठ, तेरी जुल्फें, ये तेरी बाहें, ये तू नहीं तेरी परछाई है। कभी ख्वाबों में, तसव्वुर में कभी, कितना चाहा है चलूं हाथ थाम कर तेरा, उफक के पार कहीं दूर, बहुत दूर कहीं। नींद से जाग गया हूं और ये पाया है, मेरे पांवों तले जमीन नहीं, तू मेरा सच तो है यकीन नहीं। तू मेरा सच तो है यकीन नहीं, कितने मासूम अंधेरों में तलाशा था तुझे, कितने संगीन उजालों में तुझे पाया है, कितना चाहा था कोई रिश्ता निभाऊं तुझसे, और जाना कि तेरा अक्स भी पराया है। स्याह रातों के कमजोर तल्ख लम्हों में बारहा तेरी याद आई है। ये तेरे ओठ, तेरी जुल्फें, ये तेरी बाहें, ये तू नहीं तेरी परछाई है। कभी ख्वाबों में, तसव्वुर में कभी, कितना चाहा है चलूं हाथ थाम कर तेरा, उफक के पार कहीं दूर, बहुत दूर कहीं। नींद से जाग गया हूं और ये पाया है, मेरे पांवों तले जमीन नहीं, तू मेरा सच तो है यकीन नहीं।
The next rendering of Madhuk Mohta's poem, and this worked beautifully, Jyoti, is by Geeta Sethia. He could not do this for us, so his colleague and singer has rendered this particular poem titled Roshni.
नमस्कार। प्रस्तुत है मधुक मोहता की रचना समय। मैं कैसे मान लूं कि तुमने समय का आविष्कार किया है, तुमने समय का संक्षिप्त इतिहास लिखा है। जिस समय ने द्रौपदी के अपमान को महाभारत की अभिव्यक्ति दी, सीता के वनवास की सृष्टि की, अहिल्या को पुनः गति और गांधारी को दिव्य दृष्टि दी, जिस समय ने लुम्बिनी के वनों में, हिमालय के पाषाणों पर, तक्षशिला की शिलाओं और कुम्हार के खंडित राजप्रसादों में बुद्ध को, गणेश को, चाणक्य को शांति दी, शब्द दिए, शक्ति दी, जिस समय ने अजंता को चित्र, नालंदा को विद्या, श्रुति को स्वर, वासना को विषय, सौंदर्य को श्रृंगार, संगीत को लय, नृत्य को विधि, शिल्प को शैली, भाव को भंगिमा, दर्शन को गरिमा, युद्ध को द्वंद्व, रास को रंग, विज्ञान को जिज्ञासा, यथार्थ को बोध, बोधि को सत्व, पीड़ा को अश्रु और संज्ञा को संबोधन दिया है। जिस समय ने मंदाकिनी को, भागीरथी को गंगा में समाहित किया, चरवेदी की उपमा से, जल को गंगा की उपाधि दी, गंगा को सागर दिया, समाधि दी, उस समय ने मनुष्य को आविष्कार किया है। समय एक प्रागैतिहासिक संस्था है। मैं कैसे मान लूं तुमने समय का संक्षिप्त इतिहास लिखा है। समय एक सिंधु है, स्वयं में कितनी संभावनाएं, उल्लास, कितनी व्यग्रताएं, अवसाद, उत्कंठाएं, अभिलाषाएं लिए खड़ा है। समेटे सम्राटों के वैभव, युद्धों की विभीषिका के अवशेष, आकांक्षाओं, अपेक्षाओं और श्रापों की परिभाषाएं बांधे खड़ा है अपनी मुट्ठी में। कितने सन्निपात, कितनी पीड़ाएं, कितने ज्वर व्यापे खड़ा है, कितनी कुंठाओं का परिमार्जन किया है समय ने। समय का कोई इतिहास नहीं होता। समय स्वयं इतिहास की समीक्षा है। समय इति की परिणति है। समय गति है, नियति है, प्रगति है। समय के ललाट पर लिखा है व्यतीत और आशातीत, भविष्य, वर्तमान और अतीत। समय उद्देश्यों से ऊपर और परंपराओं से परे है। केवल समय जानता है परंपराओं के पराभव का कारण और उद्देश्यों की परिणति। अनुभूति का विषय है समय, रीति का, नीति का, प्रीति का विषय है समय। देखो, समय हिलोरे ले रहा है। हटो, बचो, समय की लहरों को मुझसे टकराने दो। समय संदर्भ है, संकल्प है, संवेदना है। समय एक विडंबना है। समय निरपेक्ष है, निरापद है। समय सरल है, विरल है। समय ही गरल है। समय की कृति है, विकृति है, आकृति है। समय प्रकृति है। समय सिद्ध, सिद्धांत और सिद्धि है। समय न्याय, विधि और विधान है। समय ही संसद है, समय संविधान है। समय ही सत्ता है, सत्ता की समझ है। समय प्रथम नागरिक है, समय ही समाज है। समय संज्ञा है, समय ही क्रिया है, अनुप्रास है। समय ही संधि है, समास है। समय विशेष है, विशेषण है। समय विन्यास है, सूक्ष्म है। समय संन्यास है। समय बरसात की पहली बूंद है, ओस का पहला कण। समय सूर्य की संध्या में समर्पण है। समय ही सूत्र है, सूत्रधार है। समय अक्रूर है, क्रूर है, सूत्रपात है। समय ही भाषा की परिभाषा है। समय गद्य है, पद्य है। समय सद्य है। समय पहला अक्षर, पहला शब्द, पहली पंक्ति, पहली कविता, पहला कवि है, पहला संपादक, पहला गुरु है, पहला ग्रंथ। समय को समझो, फिर मुझे समझाना कि समय क्या है। समय प्रकृति की प्रथम क्रीड़ा है। समय विजय का गर्व है, पराजय की पीड़ा है। समय एक फिल्म है। समय प्रथम नायक है, प्रथम खलनायक भी। समय ही सम्मान है। समय शोक है, कुमार है। समय अशोक है। समय ही मधुबाला है, मनीषा है। समय ही मधु है, समय ऐश्वर्य है। समय सौंदर्य है, समय ही रूप की अस्मिता है। समय सुष्मिता है, शर्मिला है, शबाना है, स्मिता है। समय ही स्वर है, आशा है। समय किशोर है, समय संगीत है, भावुक है, विभोर है। समय ही छाया है, बिंब है, प्रति समय ही सिनेमा है। क्षितिज के सतरंगी पर्दे पर समय ही निर्देशक है। समय गुरुदत्त है, गुलजार है। समय का सिनेमा घर खचाखच भरा है और इकलौता बचा पास, मेरे पास है। मेरे साथ चलो, सिनेमा का सिनेमा देखोगे। समय एक गांव है, समय एक पगडंडी है। समय गुड़ की मंडी है। समय खेतों में उगती फसल है, खलियानों में भरा गेहूं। समय एक अमराई, बरगद की छाया है। समय ही मोह है, समय ही माया है। समय का चौपाल है, समय लेखपाल है। समय चौधरी है, समय ही चौटाला। समय आरती है, समय ही दिया है। समय ही फकीर है, समय ही पीर है। समय साइकिल है, समय ही सड़क है। समय ही शय है, समय ही मात है। समय ही बिसात है, समय ही शतरंज है। समय हजरतगंज है, समय ही शहनाई है। समय ही शादी है, समय ही विदाई है। समय के चबूतरों पर आओ, मेरे साथ बैठो, हुक्का गुड़गुड़ाओगे। समय एक अनवरत सीढ़ी है, जो वहां से प्रारंभ होती है जहां से आदमी चढ़कर आकाश छूना चाहता है। नमस्कार, प्रस्तुत।
Thank you, Jyoti. This worked beautifully. Whatever magic you did has worked. At the cost of overshooting this session by about 9 minutes, I request you to play Kartika Naya one more time, please, from the beginning.
Thank you, Dr. Vijay Kumar and Hyderabad Literature Festival for inviting me to this edition. I'm going to read a single poem. It is a poem from my book Until the Lions Echoes from the Mahabharata. This poem is called Bedtime Stories for a Dasi's Son, and it is in the voice of Sauvali, the handmaid to Gandhari, who is forced to sleep with Dhritarashtra, the blind king. It's the second movement that I'm going to read. Bedtime Story for a Dasi's Son. When the king decides to take you, the eyes arrive first. Not his own, for he is blind. No, an unkindness of eyes, male and female, and other raptors that circle you, watching, weighing, measuring, probing, and prying. An unkindness of eyes, each set different, yet so similar they could all be the same. Eyes that seem to have no tongues, no torsos either, though you will feel their beaks inside your head for the rest of your days, pecking your words, gnawing on your thoughts, spitting out syllables, stretching vowels, screeching and cooing in turn, praising and threatening. It is an honor, they crow, that you must strive to deserve. An honor we are so grateful to be spared. A great honor you must not avoid. You know this already. In all the years you have tried to remain unseen, tried to stay unbodied even when present. For how could you forget your neighbor, the maid who fled, the maid who had reached the river, dived in and nearly crossed its waters when soldiers harpooned her through the neck, hauled her back, then slit her open like a common carp, nose to belly, and left her innards by the bank. For you were taught the tale of your great aunt, chosen by another monarch many moons back, your great aunt, who managed to vanish, but returned when they fed her husband and her firstborn to a bonfire, feet first. Famished bodies, flammable as tinder, but louder, so much louder. And fed the remains, 2 tiny hands, a thigh bone, charred bowels, to red ants. An honor you cannot refuse, they call, as though you didn't know that. When the king decides to take you, there is nowhere to run. The land is his, the rivers are his, the sky too, the birds dwelling there bemoan. When the king decides to take you, there is nowhere to hide, with earth and heaven and hell his turf. When the king decides to take you, no one comes to the rescue. The gods are his. Myth and legend too, his own. When the king decides to take you, the contours of your life dissolve. You move within a cage of eyes, the unkindness of eyes that define every action, surround you from daybreak to daybreak, from plunder to cleansing to respite, to plunder again. Your deflowering too is a public act. The bedchamber is not naked, nor is the king, only you are. Your deflowering, accompanied by priestly chanting and conch shells, unfolds in 3 long acts of lunge, grind, rip. The lunge of a Himalayan thing that blots out the night, ferrous hands and knees that unhinge limbs, prying open arms and thighs, no flesh or thought, all metal and sweat and rush. The grind of chest against belly, the grind of seed bags on sepals, the grinding of a back into gravel against silken sheets that singe skin and memory. Rip the fine robes you were meant to wear. Rip the fragrance of young lips. Rip softness from both breasts. Rip the muslin of a heart hidden between 2 hips, its walls fluid and dark and furious. Darkness bellows and overflows till you feel no more. But you wake, all too soon, and when you wake, the king has recommenced, so have the prayers. At first, you know no anger, no fear, only pain that permeates from skin to marrow. Your spine is bent, bone after bone, with the weight of a tungsten sky. Your breasts have aged, the nipples turned to rust. Mouth and tongue swell into rubble and dust. Your back and neck bear the hieroglyphics of talons. Deep and live and rubescent, the kingdom's untold history. Your belly is a molten, screaming pit that cannot be hushed. When the king decides to rape you, no one will use the word rape. The word does not exist in the king's world. Your body is just another province he owns, from navel to nipple, insole to clitoris. And it is not over yet. Time moves from night to night, from one coupling to the next. For you are to be pounded till you procreate. Each night he comes to peel and split you open like a tangerine, suck dry, then discard all thought of you except the seed. Each night you must try to be pliant, for the king's displeased voice can sever heads. Each night you curse the queen whose unending incubation has forced you to her husband's bed. Each night you pity the queen whose husband knows no tenderness, no love in his loins, save for a son and heir. Each night. Till the day the priests announce you are child-bound, and the delicate state removes you from the king's chambers. For 9 months you are precious. The bite of your belly, the altar at which the eyes, the unkindness of eyes, dance and bow. Then one day you're not. Your son has dehisced, a slash of earth, red, ripe and viscous, that swims out from the sea above your legs. And the queen's 100 sons burst forth from their capsules. The dearth of infants is over. Court and kingdom rejoice. Court and kingdom expel you and your kin to the outer boundaries of the land, with a fistful of gold to keep you well away from your son. But you return. You return again and again until the queen, who fears your being, promises the child can visit you so you will not cast a shadow on her realm. So you wait. You wait for the day he will make that journey to your hut, to your heart. Each day you wait, with tireless gaze scorching the path to your hut. Each day you clean the bare insides of your home till they gleam in pain. Each day you repeat the story you will tell your son, even as you hear the distant chant of the unkindness of eyes. When the king decides to take you, there is nowhere to run. The land is his, the rivers are his. The sky too, the birds dwelling there bemoan. When the king decides to take you, there is nowhere to hide, with earth and heaven and hell his turf. When the king decides to take you, no one comes to the rescue. The gods are his. Myth and legend too, his own. Hello.
Amita, please unmute.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you so much, Kartika. My apologies to all the poets in this session for not having had the smoothest of technical. I'm glad that we could, however, hear the last 3 renderings seamlessly. Thank you, Jyoti and team. We will put this up on the YouTube for better listening. I thank you all for being here at the Kavyadhara HLF 2021. Thank you. Do enjoy other programs.
Amita, you're offline, and Shreya and all are waiting for you. to take the next session. Pratmesh, I'm ending this meeting. I'm ending.
పున్నాము వెన్నాల కోలు పూసి కాసిందే కోలు పున్నాము వెన్నాల కోలు పూసి కాసిందే కోలు
నీరు నిమ్మల కింద గన్నెర్ల కింద వంగి పూలే రంగ కొంగందుకునే వంగి పూలే రంగ